we probably move along to what to do with them once you've got them, and kind of looking at an overall strategy, is you really want to segment everything out. You really want to be able to report on these things on all per segment basis. As an example organization, we've got donors, online donors, and prospects who are like email signups. And then we've got these other donor segments that are from email events. So we've got the active DM donors, lapsed DM donors, got that multi-channel group that we were talking about. We've got monthly givers. And so you want to be able to look at these groups in a specific way across campaigns, so that you can actually report on them. And you can see just reinforcing what I was saying earlier about the multi-channel donors. I mean, their response rate is the highest response rate on there, 2.13% to all emails. So just kind of thinking about it from a segmentation standpoint. So how do you do it? You want to have a plan. You want to have an integrated plan. This is an example where I don't expect that any of you are going to be able to read that. But it's essentially, the goal here is to show that it's listed by month. You've got a plan that includes when things are going out. This includes direct mail and online. It includes who's it going to, the quantities of all the different people, all the different constituencies, what the topical focuses are, foci are for each of the pieces. If there's a piece of integration, there's that column there for integration of online promotion. Is it going to include, is that direct mail renewal going to include a special buck slip to try to get people to submit their email address, or what is that component? And it's getting it all on one page, realizing, of course, that this is in a perfect world where everybody plays together nicely in the sandbox.
How many of you in your organizations have different people managing online than managing the direct mail?
Pretty typical.
It's very typical. So when we talk about how important it is to integrate, we are not saying it's easy by any stretch. I mean, anybody have a story to share about how challenges they're having in that regard?
It's opening up a can of worms, I know. But
yeah, go ahead.
So I'm a developing communications person, and basically I have to work with our annual fund people when we're doing those kinds of mailings, with major gift officers depending on more targeted mailings. So it's definitely a lot of overlap, but I would say that having someone in this type of role does make it easier, because it is such a big part of my job to be in communication.
I think that the role that you just described, development communications, I mean, 10 years ago we didn't have that. We never heard that, but now lots of organizations are having people whose function is to sort of be a middle person and to help the annual giving side and the communication side get along. So that's good. Great example, yes.
We just had a situation where a corporation that was a big donor to a client went online to order shirts that said like squash hunger or something like that. And they emptied out the inventory, so the online webmaster had to like re-up, reorder shirts, send them to this corporate partner. Then all 70 volunteers showed up to do their volunteer work at the food bank, but nobody had told the corporate fundraiser that anything had happened. So there wasn't really, there are 70 volunteers motivated who spent money
in their t-shirts
in their t-shirts to come pack, and there was no coordination internally. And this isn't a big place. It's just one person thought they had a windfall sale online of t-shirts one day and didn't put two and two together and understood the relationship. So it happens every day.
Absolutely.
Yeah, ironically, the communication is one of the toughest parts. It's really, you just have to be on the same page. Yeah.
Back to the appending, I'll share a problem that we had. We have Donor Perfect. Mm-hmm. Donor Perfect did the append. Constant Contact did not accept Donor Perfect's. We have a technical problem.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure maybe others have maybe experienced that, but the communication, our fault was we should have asked Donor Perfect first.
Right.
Is this going to be accepted by Constant Contact?
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's like with anything else. I mean, it's telemarketing firms. I mean, everything. There are some more reliable agencies out there, and there are some less reliable agencies out there that it's questionable in terms of where they're getting their information from, and so you want to be able to go to and use.
Well, and with any new tools, there are going to be bugs. So, but yeah. So were you able to fix it? No.
No.
So you have to just do another
We're still,
entire pen.
yeah, we're still dealing with it.
Wow. That's a lesson learned, everybody else. Yeah, definitely. Thanks for sharing.
So again, having a plan, just kind of showing a few examples of kind of like the coordination, where this is a client that we have, an animal shelter up in Boston. It's an example of a direct mail piece for their monthly pledge program, very successful monthly pledge program, especially for animal organizations.
It has puppies
Monthly
and hearts, how could you go
I mean, how could we go
wrong?
wrong? And then this is the online component, which is a cute postcard that goes out as part of the appeal as well. But again, it's kind of coordinating the communication, and it's the same program offline as it is online. And this is another example.
Yeah. So this is one of my clients, the Foundation Fighting Blindness, and their founder is Gordon Gund, he's the founder and the chairman, and he is blind himself, has been since he's 26 years old, and every year does a matching gift. He's Gund of the Gund teddy bears or something, so he's got some money. So he does a matching gift every year at year end, and it's always very, very successful. And this is the direct mail piece, and as you see, it's very, very plain. No fancy four color, nothing. Just a number 10 window envelope, matching gift, because they know it comes every year and they're ready for it. So we don't spend a lot of money trying to make this too, the match will carry the day. They know they're going to give now because of the match. But this year we said, okay, this was past last year, 2009, how can we integrate this with what we're doing online? So we also did a video, and this is Gordon and his wife Lily, and this is how simple it was. They came to the board meeting. We found out that Lily was coming with Gordon, so we hired a videographer to come in the morning of the board meeting, asked them to come down a half an hour early, sat him in a chair, and turned the video machine on and just asked them some questions, and then got the raw footage and spliced it into about 90 seconds, 2 minutes, of Gordon and Lily talking to these donors about how it's the time of year for the match again, and if we've sent you the letter, and if you haven't responded, you can respond now online. And again, this gets back to having something to say. One of the most poignant moments in this very low budget, low tech, in your own living room kind of video was Gordon sharing the story of how happy he was that he didn't completely lose his vision until after their last son was born. I mean, you're like, there's the heart moment, and you have that, and all of a sudden, things come alive. So we did a series of 3 emails. The second email, we sent them the video. Now we just pounded home about the fact that they could double their gift with this. Meanwhile, another mailing is going out, so it was 2 mailings and 3 emails over the course of the period. And the last one, again, reminding them that their money would be doubled. And driving them, the mail drove them online if they wanted to give online. Then the emails also drove traffic in from the mail because the mail was out there at the same time. So they would get these email reminders and they would say, oh yeah, I meant to send something. And a lot of them would go get their direct mail piece and send it in. So it's how it works in synergy with one another. That's really, really important to look at. Those are anything else I wanted to.
You know the results of that?
Well, yes, that's what I'm looking at now. So basically, we tripled the income from both the mail, the online side that last year. So last year we did 3 mails, this year we did 3 mails, and we think that's because they were so well coordinated with the mail and because we added the video, and it cost us almost nothing to do the video. Yeah.
Do you have any metrics on how many people watched the video compared to how many people received
I
it?
don't. I'm sure they do, but I don't myself. But the video was up. What's interesting is that of the 3 emails, the video was the most successful, even more successful than the last. The last one is it's December 30th and there's only 2 days left. That's usually for all of us, that's the best one of the year. The video one beat that one. So that was mailed around mid-December, emailed around mid-December. So we know that the video really had an impact on people and continued to have an impact throughout the mail series and the rest of the emails. And I think what the most important message about this was, you don't have to think, oh, we can't do that. That's too hard. Everybody knows someone who has a video camera. My iPhone has a video camera, so you can do this, and you can think about who's delivering what kind of message for your folks would help. So, last thing I want to say, you see the top of the thing says "Give the gift of sight" this holiday season. My one regret is that we didn't come up with that in time to put it in the mail too. So next year, that whole theme will also be integrated in both. So.
just as a last example of just kind of the coordinated content, at least at this stage, is Center for Reproductive Rights. This is direct mail is on the right there, and the email is on the left, and the point is just kind of using the same exact copy in some of those. I mean, obviously the online environment is a little bit different, 2-page letters compared to an email that's about half the size and half the length, but again, reinforcing the communications back and forth so that when somebody is getting both, it's not a totally different message. It looks like everybody's playing in the sandbox because you're using the same content, and that's always important because it's one thing to, I guess it's novel and fundamental, but it's one thing to have their email address and be sending out stuff online and also sending them stuff on direct mail, but unless they're coordinated in terms of what it is, then it's sort of, you're sort of not really doing a whole lot.
Can I just ask about that? So that goes a little bit counter to some things I've heard or read about email being such a different medium that you don't want to include something that's like a typed letter. You want it to be more informal and.
Right. Well, and this is actually a good example because obviously we had to edit it down from the direct mail, and so online you have shorter total space. I mean, and for most clients, I mean, 2 pages is. 2 pages is fairly short, and we have organizations that we work with that send out 4-page direct mail letters, and those are tested better than the 2-page direct mail letters. And then we have to take that and edit it down to a 250-word email.
But it's still that letter format.
It's still, it's still
Well,
letter
it can
form.
be, yeah.
It can be, right? And we've got, we work with a lot of organizations where there's a time and a place for everything. Where the letter format works really well. Something like a postcard that's even shorter, that's maybe 75 words, 50 to 75 words, that has a specific call to action on December 31st, especially when things have, there's a deadline built into either a campaign or, on December 31st, the end of the tax break. That those things work particularly well because you don't have a whole lot of space. You just want to get that message out, and you can do it in 50 to 75 words. But in this case, for most appeals, we found that the letter formats still work pretty well. But it's again different for every organization. Again, tested.
I'm just curious how in those 2 examples that for the printed piece, you haven't used any imagery, and we've started to print really beautiful splashy colored photographs on our printed pieces as well as our online.
And how's that working?
Well, it seems to be working for us.
Are you testing it or you're just doing it?
No, we're just doing it. But I was curious if you had any feedback about whether that is
As a
working.
general rule, the more personal the letter looks, which means less for color and less flashy, the better you're going to do. Now that there are certain kinds of organizations where that's not true, where where you're doing service type things, where you're feeding the elderly or working with children, where showing those images can really help you. But I would definitely test it, and also be cautious in direct mail of going too flashy, because then you get the backlash of, is this how you're spending my money? Instead of helping the people in need. So just be really cautious on the offline side about too much color and too much flash.
The same thing goes for before you get that question in the back. The same thing goes for online as well. I mean, you don't want to be too flashy with everything. I mean, there's a reason that non-profit organizations are not on the cutting edge of every piece of technology that's out there. It may be organizational, so there might be reasons for that, but it actually works for the audience because you're generally, your online donor audience is still, older, certainly older than people who are in their 20s, and so.
It gets back to the video with Gordon and Lily. I mean, the fact that it was sort of down home and very low budget made it much more believable, I think.
Yeah, you don't want to have it look like, this is a microsite for Pfizer. You just don't want that. It's not right for the audience, and so it's again just knowing your audience. And as Kathy mentioned, you got to test it.